this video, I'll be transforming this spruce village from before 1.14 in 1.16. To start off, I go around and using world edit remove all of the paths. This way it's a lot easier for me to move everything around and I can replace them later. Then what I'm doing is going around and moving all the buildings around slightly, like 1 or 2 blocks to the left or the right, so that way there's more space for paths and for everything to function better. It is a bit laggy, so that's why you will see some chunk errors. Now what I'm doing is the first build. This build is a farmland area. So all I really did for it is add a bit of framework around the edges, replace the logs so they're on the side, and then slap a roof on top. I then use that roof and then copy and paste it around to the other farmlands. And for the one where there's a double, I expand it on the side to incorporate an animal pen. Before I do that, I go around and start creating that custom path. This custom path is 75% path blocks and 25% coarse dirt. So as you can see, I'm copying and pasting it onto this farmland, and then on the area next to it I replace it with an animal pen. One of the details I added was campfires for the roof, so it looks like logs, and then added some animals in the pen. Now what I'm doing, as you can see here, is placing some slabs next along the path, so that way it's consistent. And there is the farmland where I copied and pasted it to. Now what I'm doing is replacing the fountain. At first it had a 2-block center and was very blocky, so I decided to replace it entirely and give it a 1-block center and a more spherical design. Now what I'm up to is the first house design, which is the house here. So to do this, I started off by just adding logs around to create a framework. Now I try to keep the main design of this house, but I butcher it so much that in the end I may as well have just demolished the house and started from scratch. So now what I'm doing is improving the roof, and by improving I really mean just slapping a better roof on top, and then next to it I create a second layer to the house, which then also gets a roof added on top. Now I tried to add a window or balcony to the first roof I built. This ends up failing miserably, and I have multiple attempts, none of which work out. So in the end I just end up going with the same design I have on a farmhouse, which is just a simple 1x1 window. Now I am going over and adding a roof onto the second part that I built. This town had a lot of small houses, so the one I saw here, I decided to completely destroy it and replace it with a small tower. I should explain that this tower on the middle layer has no interior space, meaning it is completely and utterly pointless, purely aesthetics. I just move it over to the side and I start work on the second house. The way I built this house is very similar to the way I built the first one, in that I just add some framing around it and then I work on the roof. For this one though, I decided to make sure the roof has a 1-block center by moving the house around, so that way I can have a framework. I then fill in the space, but since the roof is slightly wider on one end, I add a slight incline to the roof. Beforehand, I forgot to replace the bottom layer with cobblestone and spruce planks properly, so I'm just going around doing that now. At this point, I'd be working on this build for around an hour and a half, and I just realized how big of a project this is. So now what I'm doing is exactly the same as before, but with these librarians. So what I'm doing is just adding framework and then improving the roof. Unlike the other ones where I slapped an even bigger roof on top, I could actually use almost all of the pre-existing roof from these houses, so it meant they were very fast in upgrading them. I then go around, change out the walls, and add some windows. From here, I just copy and paste it around to the other side exactly. Now I wanted to add a bit more height to the village, so I add a second layer to the two of these houses that connects them both. Sort of like a bridge, but at the end of it looks like someone just slapped a trailer on top of two houses. Then add 2 side windows to the edge to add more detail. Now what I do is just copy and paste that tower from before here, just to save some time, because as I said, this build took a long time. Next thing I wanted to do was improve this house. But all I really did was just copy and paste the roof from the tower onto this. Next thing for me to do was the church. Now with the church, I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do. So at the start, I just added some walls and then stairs. But in the end, all I really do is replace the cobblestone with a mix of stone, cobble, stone bricks and cracked bricks. So there's not much going on there really. This whole top area here, I mostly get rid of. The only thing I don't is this house that I copy and paste over here. Everything else there, I decide to get rid of because it will save me a lot of time. For this house, I do the exact same as all the others. Try and add a framework and then a roof. I try to vary it up, so at the back of this roof, as you can see, I try and add a curve, but I go back and change it later as I realised it made it really hard to add a roof, so it was just a bit of a pointless idea. Now I'm just contemplating how I'll add the roof. So then I decide to just destroy it entirely and rebuild the back of it. As you can see there, that farmhouse was very close to this one and was colliding with it, so I moved it over. Now the last bit of this build is that one house there and then the small one. The small house I then convert into an even bigger tower and just copy and paste the previous one on top. This smaller tower I then copy and paste around the village as sort of like an outpost. And then with this final house, I just copy and paste one of the previous ones I've already built. So from here, I turn it to night, and then I go through, and in all the windows and houses, I just spam torches and lanterns around the place, and this makes the whole town light up and look like it's really glowing at night. Thanks for watching this video. This video took me a long time to make, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys would like and subscribe. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and if you have any comments for future videos, comment below in the comment section.